very good afternoon and many thanks for joining us this Sunday. Trusting that your day is coming along well. This is NTV at 1. My name is Dennis Okari. Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu has turned himself in 2 days after an arrest warrant was issued against him. The governor is currently being held at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission headquarters for processing. Waititu is being investigated for a 588 million shillings road tender in Kiambu. Our very own Brenda Wanga is at the Integrity Center where she is bringing us the very latest on this corruption probe. Brenda?
Indeed, we are here at the EACC headquarters Integrity Center where Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu is currently being held. He turned himself to the investigators here early in the morning at around 8:30 a.m. This after what has turned out to be cat and mouse games with the detectives for the better part of the weekend. He had been asked to turn himself in for prosecution over the irregular awarding of the tender of over 588 million shillings in Kiambu County over the construction of some roads in that county. We have been told by his lawyer that he did come in at 8:30 in the morning, the lawyer refuting claims that he had been hiding away from the EACC investigators who have been looking for him for the better part of the weekend. We are also informed that his wife was not with him when he came here in the morning. You also remember that the wife is also wanted in relation to the same tendering inquiries. We have been informed that his wife will be making her way here in the afternoon, anytime from between 2 and 3 p.m. today. Also today, one of the other suspects who had been asked to turn himself in just did that, like about 10 a.m. The chief officer for roads for that county, Luka Waihenya, also had been asked to come here over the same charges. So the search for the people, about 7 of them who had been asked to turn themselves in for prosecution, seems to be coming to an end. We expect that once the wife of the governor also makes her way here, that list will be whittling down. Dennis?
Well, thank you very, very much, Brenda. We are definitely following up on this story just to find out what's happening there. But we just want to also listen in to what Waititu's lawyer, that is Oliver Kipchumba, had to say about all this.
What we are here to just clarify the misleading statements that have been in the media, a section of the media, that the governor was on the run. The true position was that the governor was out of town, and there was a miscommunication in the first letter that came out from the DPP. It showed a different date. But yesterday, he came in quite late in the evening, and as you are aware, the directive from the CEO was that he reports here. And we thought it wise to come this morning, and that's why we were here by 8:30. So I think there is nothing much to say. The processing is happening, and we are waiting now the whole system to take its course. And also maybe to buttress the point that you cannot run away from the justice system unless we are a different country. But in this country, you can't run away from the justice system. We have the police, the NIS, the DCI, and even the EACC themselves. So it is not possible to say that a governor who was a police escort ran away. So I think also we need to clarify some of those things. The wife is on her way here.
Well, that was Waititu's lawyer, Oliver Kipchumba, talking about the processing of Ferdinand Waititu, governor of Kiambu. We're definitely following up on that story, and we'll be bringing you all the latest as we get them in our subsequent bulletins. Let's move on now. A section of Nakuru County leaders have criticized recent utterances by Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudhi, asking President Uhuru Kenyatta to resign over increased corruption in the country. Led by Molo MP Kuria Kimani, the leaders told off Sudhi, telling him to respect the president and the presidency.
Kulikuwa na watu wengi sana ambao walienda campaign kutafuta hiyo kiti ya president, but people voted for His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta and the Deputy President William Samoei Ruto. So please, you are a leader, you like to be respected. Respect our president, respect our deputy president, respect our elected leaders. Wakati wa campaign ikisha, we will elect and we know who to elect. Sisi kama watu wa Molo tulikaa chini na tukaomba kura. Na tulisema aje? Tulisema Uhuru Ruto tano tena. So hiyo Uhuru Ruto ambayo tulisema tutaiendeleza huo wakati ukifika. Lakini kwa sasa, we support the deputy president and we support his ambition, but you're also asking, please, stop making it difficult for us to convince these people to vote for our deputy president.
Residents in Kiwanjani area of Isiolo County claim a tycoon is seeking to evict over 700 households from their land. The man in question claims ownership of 10 acres of land, which the residents say is their ancestral land. The aggrieved parties are now pointing an accusing finger at the county government's Department of Lands for failing to issue title deeds. Isiolo woman representative Rehema Jaldesi says the corruption at the county Department of Lands has reached intolerable levels, with the poor losing out to the wealthy people working with cartels at the lands offices.
Na alijaribu kuleta ukora kwa sababu alianza kupoint 10 kwa kona yote, alichukua watu 10 na sisi wengine 63 others tuliona ya kwamba tutadhulumiwa. Yale ambayo hiyo koti itahukumu itadhulumu wale wengine wote, ndio tuka appeal 2018 to enjoy it as interested party.
Usiku na mjana tunalia, hakuna kulala. Mimi kwanza nimechukua operation kwa ajili ya hii kitu. Hii watu hajui kutoka, watu 4 5 watu 10 ndio wanahangaika. Kwa sasa sisi ardhi yetu sisi tunataka haki yetu. Hapa tunakufia, hakuna mtu mmoja atatoka hapa. Taenda Embu au Turkana au tutafute ardhi wapi.
Na kama mnataka uzuri, serikali aamuliwe hiyo maneno mapema. Tusiamukie na mambo mengi sababu tuko na uchungu sana.
Alikuja kudai ya kwamba hii ardhi ni yake na hana document yoyote. Ile document ambaye ako naye ni DDC, sijui DDC ambaye haina backing ya minute ya council na anything. Kwa hivyo hawa wakazi wamejipanga wakaenda kotini. From wakati walienda kotini mpaka leo wanapewa roadblocks, kesi yao haisikiki, kila wakati wanakuwa denied.
Security officials have raised alarm over the rising cases of lynching of suspected witches in Kilifi and Kwale counties. Coast Regional Commissioner John Lungata has warned residents against taking the law into their own hands. Speaking while on a tour of Samburu, Taru and Makinon Road townships along the Mombasa-Nairobi highway, Lungata said action will be taken against those attacking the elderly. He said beatings and killings of elderly people on suspicion of practicing witchcraft was an outright contravention of the law. Elderly residents in parts of Kilifi and Kwale counties are increasingly being killed or driven out of their homes on allegations that they practice witchcraft and are behind misfortunes and calamities.
Tangu lini nywele nyeupe zikawa za mchawi? Tukikuta mzee ameuliwa kwa boma fulani kwa sababu mmemuita mchawi ndio mchukue ardhi yake, hata wewe hutapona.
About 3 out of 10 women are likely to be divorced or separated due to fertility issues in Kenya. Despite infertility being a problem affecting both men and women have continued to bear the burden and face the stigma that come with it. Tonight we bring a very special feature by NTV's Unisomolo, Cries of the Womb. You don't want to miss that. Here's just a quick snippet.
Huwa bibi wa kwanza kaishi naye miaka 34, sio kupata naye mtoto.
Mzali jaribu hata wakanga tulifika.
Many more cannot afford the alternatives. As a result, they continue living in solitude due to stigma.
Fika wakati sasa nikasema mimi dunia inaniacha. Mzee akitoka huko, mtu sasa hii, huyu mtu anajazia choo. Nilikwambia uende umekatalia hapa. Nini unatakanga hapa? Sijui nitoe kwa hiyo nyumba mabati ndio uende.
Mimi sasa kukula tu na kulala. Sina nyingine ati natamani tena mtoto ama nini.
People thinking that infertility is a problem of women.
Mwanamke kama uzai, afadhali hata kile mjivurute tu chini na uzai, ndugu zangu.
That special Cries of the Womb by Unisomolo coming to you tonight at 9 p.m. Tension is rising in Kanamai, Kilifi, following a spate of attacks related to land grabbing and criminal gangs. Elsewhere, a community resource and protection center has been opened at Marafa in Magarini constituency to rescue and empower teenage mothers. Kevin Mutai looks at these stories and others making headlines at the coast.
Residents of Majengo in Kanamai, Kilifi County are living in fear. They claim that there's an increase of attacks by a criminal gang accused of invading land owned by widows and the elderly. The village is one of the areas worst hit by these attacks. Some have already fled their homes in fear of the gang, which they say attacks at night.
Baadhi yao tumeshika na tumewasilisha mahakamani ili washughulikiwe kwa mujibu wa sheria.
Still in Kilifi, the county government has raised an alarm over the sale of public and community land in the region. Kilifi County Executive Member for Lands, Charles Dadu, said the cartels are collaborating with the locals to sell land at throwaway prices.
Huu mwezi mzima wa 8, mwezi wa 9, kumalizia na ule wa 10, tutaingia kila kona ya hii county kuona kuwa mwananchi wa Kilifi amejua masuala ya ardhi na haki zake na athari zake ni zipi.
A facility to cater for teen mothers has been set up in Marafa, Kilifi. The 4 million shilling project is a partnership between Sauti ya Wanawake Magarini and Action Aid Kenya. The young mothers will learn tailoring, hairdressing and masonry. The Marafa Community Resource Center comes at a time when cases of teenage pregnancies in Magarini sub-county alone rose to 8,000 cases this year.
What we did was to do a lot of trainings, give them some small grant, a startup capital, of which most of them now are doing their own small businesses.
Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala says the Mamangina waterfront upgrade is at 82%. This year's assured the park will be ready for Mashujaa Day celebrations. Balala inspected the park on Friday.
We have assured traders. That's why we are working with the county here. And there will be a management team of this park, because we cannot just leave it just like that after investing half a billion Kenya shillings. So there will be law and order. There'll be safety and security, and there'll be everyday maintenance for the sake of making this place an international platform.
Meanwhile, the Shipping and Maritime Principal Secretary Nancy Karigithu has said that the coastal beaches are regaining their original beauty, which is attractive to both local and international tourists. Karigithu, who was in Mombasa monitoring cleaning exercise along the shorelines, also directed the authorities to take stern action against those dumping plastics on the beach.
We used to have a lot of plastic litter on the beaches, and this is beginning to have the desired effect, and continued implementation will see us in a much better state.
Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
Now, hairdressers and barbers spend most of their time in salons, a thing that makes them prone to lifestyle diseases. A global health service company has partnered with the Aga Khan University Hospital to offer on-site free medical checkups at various salons and barbershops to help people improve their health, well-being and peace of mind. The aim of the initiative, dubbed Be Beautiful, Be Healthy, is to mobilize barbershops and salons in Nairobi to aid in the delivery of health promotion and disease prevention messages. The partnership focuses on non-communicable diseases like hypertension and diabetes. Free screening to hairdressers, barbers and the customers will be conducted to encourage early detection.
As part of the 2019...
If you look at Kenyatta Market or Umoja Market, where you have hundreds of stalls of salons, these people work 7 days a week. They are standing the whole day. Do they have time to go, and even do their checkups in the hospitals? Also, what do they eat the whole day when they're doing this? You'll find your hairdresser just sipping on yogurt or pinching on fries day in, day out, because they actually don't have time to sit down and have a proper healthy meal. And this is what we are doing, going to them and starting to have this health education.
We also like to focus a lot on prevention, keeping the healthy, and to be able to, so we see ourselves as more than just an insurer, just paying out claims. And yeah, I think to do that, we really need partners. And that was very clear today for me, that with all the partners in the room, we're going to get there.
Farther afield, Sudanese protesters have rejected a probe report on the death of demonstrators. The report, which was compiled by the military, alleged that a feared Sudanese paramilitary group was involved in the attack on demonstrators. The joint probe by prosecutors and the ruling military council revealed on Saturday that Rapid Support Forces paramilitaries were involved in the raid along with some members of other security forces. Demonstrators and rights groups accused the RSF of carrying out the crackdown, a charge denied by the group's powerful chief, General Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. Shortly before dawn on June 3rd, gunmen in military fatigues raided the site of a weeks-long sit-in outside army headquarters, shooting and beating protesters in an operation that also left hundreds wounded. Bashir was ousted on April 11th, but protesters pressed on with the sit-in, demanding that the military council, which replaced him, cede power to civilians. Well, thousands of Tunisians and several foreign leaders attended the funeral of their late president on Saturday as the North African nation gears up for snap elections as early as September to defend the democratic gains of the Arab Spring. Sebsi, the country's first head of state elected in nationwide polls, died on Thursday at the age of 92. Thousands of mourners lined up the 20-kilometer road from the presidential palace to the cemetery where Sebsi was buried. A military band preceded the funeral procession as it wound its way to the cemetery, while Air Force jets flew overhead, letting off red and white smoke trails, the colors of the national flag. The Sebsi is the first president to receive a state funeral since Tunisia gained its independence from France in 1956. The government has declared 7 days of mourning. Indian Navy helicopters and emergency service boats came to the rescue of about 700 people stuck on a train caught in floods near Mumbai on Saturday. The express train was stranded in flood waters between Badlapur and Vangani following heavy monsoon rains some 60 kilometers from Mumbai. The National Disaster Response Force and the Navy launched the rescue operation after authorities warned passengers not to move. The first group of 150 passengers was rescued after the train had been stranded for 9 hours in the area. Hundreds have been reported dead in other parts of the country after weeks of rainfall in this monsoon season rather. More than 1,000 people have been arrested in Moscow after they took part in an opposition protest that had been banned by the Russian government. The people were calling for city authorities to reverse decisions to exclude key opposition candidates from the ballot paper. The protest was the latest in a wave of demonstrators calling for fair local elections in Moscow. Around 3,500 people took to the streets for the unauthorized rally. Several of the arrests were violent and police used batons against protesters. The rally came a week after the capital's biggest protest in years, when some 22,000 marchers called on officials to reverse rulings and allow opposition activists to stand for the city council in September. Since then, investigators have raided the homes and headquarters of several disqualified candidates, while top Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny was jailed for 30 days for calling the fresh protest. Hong Kong police fired tear gas at an unauthorized protest held by tens of thousands of people on Saturday to condemn an attack by armed masked men last week. Riot police used tear gas throughout the afternoon and evening in Yuen Long after tense standoffs with protesters. Police have been accused of turning a blind eye and colluding with the attackers, claims they deny. Saturday's violence compounds the political crisis engulfing the city's pro-Beijing leadership, who are seemingly unable or unwilling to end the chaos. The demonstrations of the last 7 weeks were triggered by a controversial bill which would have allowed extraditions to mainland China, but have evolved into a call for wider democratic reforms and a halt to sliding freedoms. Well, it's time now for all the sporting action this weekend with Ida Waringa.
A very good Sunday afternoon to you. Glad to be back. We start things off with some basketball, where the national men's basketball team, Kenya Mourns, settled for second place at the inaugural FIBA Afro-Chan tournament in Mali, going down 82-61, I beg your pardon, to the Democratic Republic of Congo. However, the Mourns leave with their heads held high after an incredible campaign, having qualified for a continental showpiece for the first time in 26 years and then going all the way to the final. The national men's basketball team scooped silver in the just concluded FIBA Afro-Chan Championship in Mali, letting go of a slight 37-36 halftime lead to eventually lose 61-82 to the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Wake up to nothing but the best in news, conversation starters and hard-hitting interviews that keep you informed for the day ahead.
Happened early, 6.5 years later. Before that, the only other time we took part in the Afrobasket was in 1989 in Angola.
The Kenya Mourns, who are Zone 5 champions, had an impressive run, registering
These people don't sleep. Fix first the data protection law, then we come up with the number.
Exactly my question to CS Joe Michelle.
Welcome to Living with Us. I'm your host, Sharon Mundia. Boy, have you missed out.
Stop your wheel, game done.
Thank you for joining us on NTV today.
We have our reporters in different locations.
NTV is right here to bring you everything from the beginning to the end.
Hii ni NTV Sasa.
Kuna mambo mengi sana ambayo yanafanyika.
Sasa ni kumtuliza. Hii inaitwa sensory integration.
Shughuli pevu ya kudunda viwanjani narejea kwake
na kurudisha hapa studioni.
Kuna mengi ambayo yanaendelea kujiri katika maeneo tofauti.
Tunavyoelewa nasema nini? Vimeundwa.
NTV in the morning. All you need to know to start your day.
Ilizae kama jalema.
Serikali leta dawa.
Just launched the new indoor gymnasium, world class. Africa needs to realize, Kenya needs to realize that we're no longer competing with each other. We're competing with the world. We're not investing in innovation. We're not investing in infrastructure the way we should. So I really commend our boys, because with whatever little they've been given, they've gone, ahead and done so much more.
The journey on court continues, this time for the women's basketball team, Lady Mourns, who traveled to Senegal for the Afrobasket slated for August 9th through to 18th. So proud of the Kenya Mourns, definitely looking forward to receiving them tomorrow when they make their way back to Kenya. Let's move on to Tanzania and Kenya, who will face off in Dar es Salaam in the first leg of the African Nations Championship CHAN qualifier against Tanzania this afternoon at 4 p.m. While the first leg hosts will be looking to avenge their loss to the Harambee Stars, which happened in a thrilling Africa Cup of Nations group stage clash in Egypt barely a month ago. Tanzania have since let go of their coach Emmanuel Amunike, with Simba assistant coach Burundian Ndairagije Etienne taking over on an interim basis. Now, unlike Kenya, who will be relying on a largely inexperienced squad, several Tanzanian players return after taking part in the Nations Cup. The Harambee Stars will be captained by Dennis Okari, with defender Joash Onyango making return after an injury cut short his Nations Cup hopes. Well, Arsenal fans, remember Thomas Vermaelen? Well, the Belgian defender has become the fourth former Barcelona player to sign for Japanese side Vissel Kobe. The 33-year-old joins former Barca players Andres Iniesta, David Villa and Sergi Sampa at the club, who are currently 15th in the 18-team J League. Kobe are owned by Hiroshi Mikitani, who is the CEO of Rakuten, who happens to be Barcelona's main shirt sponsor, and Vermaelen's move is the latest indicator of the growing connection between the two clubs. Speaking of that connection, Barcelona played Kobe in a pre-season friendly following the announcement, with the Catalans winning 2-0, courtesy of second-half goals from Carlos Perez.
To some fast cars now, where Formula One leader Lewis Hamilton will start on pole position for Mercedes for their 200th race at the German Grand Prix after Ferrari's hopes of seizing the top slot were dashed by engine problems. Red Bull's Max Verstappen will share the front row alongside the five-time world champion, with Hamilton's teammate Valtteri Bottas third. Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel will line up last after a turbo problem meant he failed to set a time, while teammate Charles Leclerc was sidelined in the final phase with a fuel system issue and starts 10th. The pole was a record-extending 87th of Hamilton's career. Hamilton, winner of 7 of the 10 races so far.
It's almost a year, nothing has been done.
I just need some form of information.
Final. We'll be following all that and more. I will see you at 9 p.m. where we will get to play just a bit more. I'm Ida Orenga. It's back to Dennis.
Many thanks, Ida. Before we close this, let's now look at a story that is quite creating a buzz in the Mara, where over 60 tourists were blocked while on their afternoon game drives on Saturday after protesters barricaded routes to and from 11 lodges and camps neighboring the Massai Mara Game Reserve. The protesters, believed to be joint land owners of Naboisho and Mara North Conservancy, used logs and branches to block roads at Kicheche Valley along the Olare Orok Bridge and Sojo Bridge, Ereyet Lenkopito. The landowners are seeking independence from the management of over 60,000 acres of wildlife conservation area after registering their own tourism outfit, Koyaki Mara Land Holdings, who command a 40% landmass of the conservancy. The situation almost turned violent after a contingent of police officers tried to use force to clear the road.
Hii ni msoso ambayo imeendelea kwa muda mrefu. Hii msoso ilianza 2018 mwezi wa 10. Na ilianza kwa sababu ya usimamizi ambayo ilikuwa inataka kubadilisha ya conservancies. Na hii msoso iko kati ya conservancies mbili. Moja ambaye mahali tunasimama ni Mara North Conservancy na mahali pengine inaitwa Mara Naboisho Conservancy. Tulijaribu njia zote, all conflict resolution mechanism tulijaribu, kwani tuliandika mabarua kuandikia wahusika. Tulianza na wenzetu ambaye ni wasimamizi wa management kuambia kwamba msibadilishe usimamizi. Ya pili, tukaelekea kwa serikali ambaye tuliandika mabarua kwa county government and the national government kupitia kwa DCC. Haya yote ikaendelea na hatukupata suluhu.
Insufficient or no nursing facilities at the workplace often dampen and even frustrate the joy of becoming a mother as a working woman. This has been and still is the story for many women in the country. Earlier this week, the Kenya Women Teachers Association proposed that the government sets up a breastfeeding center that would allow female teachers to bring their children to school in the company of caregivers. NTV's Charity Mwangi sought to see how feasible this is, and by visiting an institution that has been able to achieve this while looking at the reality on the other end of the mother's comfort spectrum.
Motherhood, a journey that often delivers joy untold. The blessing of a child brings with it a new dynamic for working mothers, specifically when they are to resume duty. For some, the experience has been a difficult one.
I actually went back to school when my child was only 2 months old. I did not calculate my days very well. And the principal who was there could not allow me to go in the afternoon to go and breastfeed my child.
What this teacher and many others in the country go through easily paints a picture of a noble job with a not so noble or far from noble experience.
There's a day I asked a teacher to supervise for me a chemistry practical. And the teacher, while she was in class, while she was in the laboratory, she felt like going to the washroom. So it is that minute that the head teacher walked in, the principal walked in and found the students being supervised by the lab assistant. That earned me an interdiction.
This is the situation of many a school in various parts of the country, but this is the reality of many workplaces in Kenya, where lactating mothers go back to work after maternity leave and have unfavorable conditions and experiences. They either have no rooms to express their milk or clean and well-equipped ones. The difference in experience for mothers in organizations that have invested in the facilities is tangible. Wanjiro Bongori is a mother of 3 and understands the burden of balancing motherhood and career. She was a practicing clinical therapist whose career was interrupted and eventually cut short by her obligations as a mother.
I had to pack my job in because it was too much. I was only able to attain that 6-month breastfeeding by running home like twice a day.
She now manages the facility at Safaricom, which has both a lactating room and a creche, which is a nursery where babies and young children are cared for during the working day. Her then situation is a shared one among many mothers, but her new job space is a haven for many parents.
The first time I used it is just after maternity. You know, when you have a baby and you just finished your maternity, and you're a bit scared of leaving your baby, there are times when you decide, let me just go with the baby.
So you find a community that really understands the challenges. Even sometimes you didn't sleep. They're like, yesterday I didn't sleep, my baby. Then someone is like, yeah, don't worry, it happens. Teething problems. You're able to get advice on how to go about some of those challenges.
The facility has earned the admiration of many, with corporates and even political leaders visiting it for benchmarking purposes.
We ask parents to bring the baby back, the food, and the reason we do that is because we don't want to, work with allergies. So we want the parents to bring what they know their children take. So they bring food for the very young that are still on the breast. We get their milk.
And it has now grown beyond the traditional parameters of gender, as male employees are benefiting from the facility. George Odera's wife works outside the city, a situation that prompted him to bring his son to work, if only to be close enough to him.
I saw that the kid will have a good learning experience, probably escalate his learning curve, and just the peace of mind that knowing he's just next to me, I can spend some time with him during my daily commute to and from work.
The benefits that these employees enjoy are a distant dream for many, despite there being legally binding expectations on employers.
Many women teachers who give birth consecutively, some of them have lost their jobs. They've decided now just to be housewives because they have to take care of their children.
Safaricom's is a fairly extensive facility which is in line with the firm's financial muscle. However, Kewota says there should be government support for the less financially capable organizations, more so those that are government-owned.
If we start with breastfeeding, then I think the other things will come on.
Should the recommendation by the Kenya Women Teachers Association pass, then such a facility may be established in a school near you. The investment may be huge for the government to shoulder, but according to the beneficiaries, the value is immense not just for the worker, but also for the employer.
There's increased productivity, there's reduced absenteeism, the issue of tardiness is well taken care of.
The prayer of many employees is that this vital facility can be provided at their places of work to grant mothers dignity as they serve at work. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Well, very many thanks for watching this edition of NTV at 1. My name is Dennis Okari. I'll see you again at 9. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Good afternoon.
This is NTV.
Sonadol Extra imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli kupambana haraka na maumivu ya kichwa, mwili na hata meno. Sonadol Extra, hakika maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Nation FM, more music, less talk.
Godfather, man a OG.